You have been bad to me, and now you will be punished.
6 months had passed. Rowan lounged on the sweet plushed bed, swirling a glass of whiskey. A knock at the door startled him. He sprang up. Reaching for the door, he opened it to find Nadia standing there. Without a word, she swept past him and sank onto the single armchair.
I only came here because you promised to confess to killing my husband. You have 30 minutes to explain yourself before I call the commissioner. His officers are waiting downstairs.
Nadia, you can't be serious. I did it for you.
I never asked you to kill him. Do you realize what you've done? You killed Senator Chima's only son.
Yes, you never did. But my heart ached every time you mentioned his abuse. It kept me up at night knowing a beautiful woman like you had to put up with the excesses of a drug addict and an abuser. My heart couldn't bear the pain you suffered under him. It would be cowardly of me not to help you get what you deserve. Peace of mind and love from someone who truly sees you.
It was my burden to bear, not yours. I saw you as a friend, not a murderer. That's why I confided in you.
Most women wouldn't be able to handle half of what you've been through. But you carry your pain with such dignity like a true queen. I am a fighter, and I'll do anything for you, including taking your burdens away. A queen deserves a knight, not someone who relies on drugs. If you could choose again, and if the justice system wasn't biased, would you have married him? The months you were gone felt like a heartbreak, my love. But I understand you needed a time to grieve. Nadia, I'm so sorry. Your protector would do anything to keep you safe, even if it means sacrificing myself. But before I face arrest and charges for murder, I need one promise from you. Promise me you would live your life, Nadia. Explore, have fun, and reclaim the freedom Tony and his family took away from you. You deserve all the happiness life has to offer. And no matter what happens, know that my love for you will last forever.
He said, placing a gentle kiss on her temple. Then with a determined glance in his eyes, he downed the rest of his whiskey and quickly changed his clothes. Nadia trembled, her fingers heavy on the phone keypads. Tears streamed down her cheeks, blurring her vision. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, she managed to ask in a choked voice.
But how did you manage it? How did you pull off the fake accident, and how did you even know Sarah?
Sarah is a bit of a ladies' man. I sent a woman to see him and make a deal. Everyone has a weakness, right? It wasn't hard to manipulate him.
Nadia nodded slowly, a sniff escaping her nose. Just then, a knock sounded at the door. Nadia stood up, patted down her face to freshen up, and walked towards the door. With a sigh of exasperation, she flung it open and snapped.
Stop following me around like I'm some kind of criminal.
I am terribly sorry, madam. I'm just following orders.
I understand. Sorry for lashing out. I'll let you know when I'm ready to leave.
Nadia closed the door with a gentle click. Rowan, who has been silently listening to this exchange, finally spoke, his voice laced with confusion.
Who was that?
She is a security detail assigned to me by Tony's father. He believes his political rivals orchestrated his son's death. Everyone is in panic. Tony's father suspects Sarah was a weapon used in the plan. There is a manhunt on the way searching for him, dead or alive.
Are you not going to turn me in?
I don't approve of what you did, but his family do not deserve your blood.
Even though Tony's caregiver didn't have much money, she made sure every child she looked after got bathed and had at least 3 meals a day. The old woman grew very attached to Tony and took him with her wherever she went. The market women loved seeing Tony too, and they offered to give him clothes, snacks, and small toys. Tony felt happy and loved living with the old woman. But then, one night, the familiar voice of the swollen figure appeared, jolting Tony into fear.
Hello, little one. I see you've been enjoying yourself with my friends. But now it's time to prove you deserve them.
The swirling darkness surrounded him, and he drifted off to sleep. He blinked his eyes open, startled to find his older self standing on the shores of a very vast, shimmering ocean. The sky wasn't the familiar blue, but a fiery red streak with ominous grey. Confused, he tried to grasp his surrounding. Suddenly, this strange voice echoed through this alien world.
This is your trial. You must cross this water to the other side. How you traverse will determine your fate. If you float across the water, it signifies that good deeds in your life outweighs the bad. Your choice hold more weight than your regrets. If you fly, it means you touch the lives of many people in a profound way. Their love and admiration for you transcend even death, lifting you like wings. But if you sink, it means the darkness in your past outweighs the light. The negative choices you made will hold you down.
The weight of the words settled on him. He stared out at the glittering water, the reflection of his older self staring back at him with a sad expression. Tony's heart thumped in his chest. He tried to recall a good deed, anything, but his mind remained a blank canvas. His life has been guided by a twisted belief that cruelty brings respect. Kindness was a weakness, he never felt the need for it. But then, his thoughts drifted back to his childhood birthdays. His mother had insisted on visiting the orphanage, bringing gifts and sharing laughter. The joy on the children's face had always warmed him.
That's years of good choice. They must miss that. Maybe they even remember me now.
It hurt with a flicker of hope and walked into the water. His feet sinking into the sand with each step. He panicked as he realized he was losing his footing and couldn't stay afloat. The shimmering ocean quickly engulfed him. A vivid image of Saru swimming away through the car window flashed around him. It felt like he was reliving his final moments before he drowned. In a surge of terror, he screamed for help. Then he woke up with a jolt. He looked around and realized he was back in the baby's body. He started crying, which woke up his scared giver.
My born boy, why you dey cry na? She na hungry? You don't do, you don't do. You dey fear to sleep here? Oya, come follow me sleep for my bed.
Tony calmed after I heard these words. He pushed his thumb into his mouth as she carried him into her room. Just like a trance, Tony heard a familiar strange voice speak.
You failed.
Sarah moved to a small village in another state. There, he became wealthier than most of the villagers. He could have used his money to move out of the country, but he didn't want to. He felt that living comfortable and having some power in a familiar place was better than leaving everything behind. The local girls were attracted to him, and her parents hoped he would marry one of their daughters someday. Sarah was even given an important title as a leader and became responsible for organizing events in the community. He loved the respect and affection he received, something he never thought he would experience during his lifetime. And to him that a few of the villagers felt threatened by his lavish display of wealth and the attention he was getting from the pretty maidens and the chiefs. They schemed and wondered which Sarah was and how he got so much money to spend. When the question was thrown at him in one of their meetings, he responded with laughter.
Na I'm robber be one kill my oga o. Na me save am. He happy well as so say he ask me wetin I want. We go tell am say I wan start business. He can't dash me one of him company make I use our whole body first. As it reach time to build branches, he say make I come here come establish. Abi na bad thing I do as I come.
The villagers cheered his words, but the agitators only became more suspicious. One of the leaders sooner spoke.
I don't trust him. No boss would give their whole business to someone who can't read or write, no matter what it did for them. We should keep an eye on him and find out what's going on.
Rowan and Nadia secretly met at the hotel. Their feelings for each other grew stronger with each encounter. Rowan declared,
Let's get married, Nadia. I hate having to hide you. Everyone needs to know you're the queen of my heart.
You know, getting married now will set off alarm among my in-laws since Tony passed away. Let's wait until after his first memorial service. By then, things would have calmed down.
I'd wait forever if I have to. But you should know my feelings for you are incredibly strong. I dream about you every night, Nadia.
Maybe it's Tony's ghost haunting you.
I don't mind, as long as he wears this pretty face.
4 months later, Tony found himself back at the shimmering ocean under the sky with red and grey colors. Panic surged through him as a familiar voice echoed in his ears.
Today is the day after your memorial. It must have triggered a memory of the good deeds you did in life. Now walk.
Tony felt a deep sadness. He took a deep breath and started to walk towards the water. As soon as his feet touched the ocean again, he began to sink. A cold, scary voice echoed around him.
You have been bad, Tony. And now you will be punished.
Tony opened his eyes, wondering why his visit to the orphanage over the years hasn't counted as good deeds. Feeling lost and scared, he began to cry. The old woman heard him crying and rushed over to check on him. She hurried so quickly that she tripped and fell to the ground. Chinwe Chima came home from therapy. Even after a year, she still struggled with the pain of her son's death. Sometimes she'd cry uncontrollably. One evening, during one of these emotional moments, Senator Chima arrived home from a political meeting and found her in tears. They said,
I've told you to stop this. It's not healthy now. And I can't afford to lose you too.
How can I move on, Shima? How? My only son is gone. What's the point of living?
Stop this. Don't give my political enemies ammunition now. I promise you justice for our son. His driver we thought was dead is alive and in custody. They are making him confess and they will find his accomplice soon. And don't forget your weekly visit to the orphanage. Elections are coming up and we need to connect to the voters.
Saru, exhausted and injured after being questioned for a long time. Despite everything, he couldn't describe the man in cloak to the investigators. He could only remember the girl, Nadia, who introduced them. However, when they went to the motel Saru identified as their meeting place, nobody recognized the name Maya or even saw her. Hotel records and security footage showed nothing about her or the cloaked man. With no evidence to the contrary, Saru was convicted for murder. Detective rushed to find Tony's pregnant girlfriend. The landlady answered the door and sadly informed them that Zainab had taken her own life. Devastated by Tony's death on the news, Zainab felt her dreams and future crumbled. Facing shame from her family and society, she made a tragic decision. Senator Chima felt a wave of satisfaction and sadness after Saru's life sentence. They listened to his lawyer as they revised his will.
I always wanted a son to carry on the family's name. But that murderer decided to take away what I desired most, just for a few crumbs of cash. Anyways, it's time to include the girls in the will.
Meanwhile, Tony's caregiver was taken to the hospital after the children called a neighbor for help. At the hospital, the doctor delivered gray news. Diabetes and high blood pressure makes recovery difficult. They could only treat her and hope for the best. Candy visited the next evening after a very upsetting phone call. Her favorite aunt had passed away from her injuries. She cried uncontrollable as she hugged her children tightly. She dropped them off with other extended families one by one, but no one wanted to take Tony because he was too young to take care of himself. Stuck with Tony, Candy remembered a distant uncle whose wife couldn't have children. Hoping for a happy turn of events, Candy convinced her uncle to take Tony. She told him it would bring them good luck to have a child in their home. Mrs. Okoro strongly disapproved of taking in Tony.
Bringing in a child born out of wedlock we anger God. Oh. Don't you remember God disapproves of sex before marriage?
However, Mr. Okoro valued fairness more than religion. He disagreed with his wife and took Tony in anyway. Unfortunately, Miss Okoro never made Tony feel welcome. She constantly reminded him that he was born from a sin and punished him for every small mistake. Whenever Mr. Okoro was home, he would tell his wife off of her behavior. But Tony's difficult life would start all over again when he was away on business trips. 2 years later, the Okoro family was overjoyed to welcome 2 children, a boy they named Emeka and a girl they named Nema. Mr. Okoro playfully teased his wife, saying,
See, I told you helping that child won't upset God, but will bring us blessing instead.
Mrs. Okoro smiled weakly, but still held on to her own beliefs. Nadia's daughters were not happy about their mom marrying Rowan. Rowan was much younger than Nadia, and the daughters felt disappointed and angry. They decided to move back overseas and wouldn't be coming home anytime soon. Despite their absence, Nadia and Rowan were happy together. In fact, Rowan even had a great idea.
Let's start a business importing heavy machinery. We can buy them cheap overseas and rent them out to construction companies. With your father-in-law's connection and your dad's help, we could become the go-to company for construction crews and businesses.
Nadia thought it sounded promising and agreed. Rowan then left for China, and Nadia never heard from him again. Filled with worry, she feared the worst and hired a private investigator. After 3 months, the investigator returned with the devastating news. Rowan was part of a scam. They tricked women with tempting business ideas to steal their money. Nadia unfortunately wasn't the only victim. Nadia had sunk.
I gave him all my savings. I gave him all my savings.
We can get some of your money back if we report him to the police. He has been scamming people for years. I talked to other victims and they all fell for the same act.
Nadia remained silent, lost in her thoughts. She remembered joining the dating site to escape Tony's constant abuse. There she met Rowan, a man in military clothing who messaged her persistently asking her out. Rowan talked about his business and how his family owned a lot of oil company shares. Nadia felt safe. It seemed successful, not just some guy looking for a quick fling. Every date was lavish, with Rowan paying for everything. It seemed genuine, not a fuckboy interested only in money. Nadia took a deep breath and demanded,
Take me to him.
She arrived at the grand mansion and was stunned to see Rowan seated outside. She ran to him, enveloping him in a hug.
Oh, Rowan, I was so worried I didn't hear from you and thought something terrible happened. Oh, thank God you're alive and safe.
Why are you here? How did you even find me?
Don't worry about that, love. Just come on with me. We can talk about everything that's happened.
Nadia's heart pounded with fear as she saw a young pregnant woman standing on the veranda. She called out,
Rowan, darling, is that your aunt you've been telling me about? Why don't you invite her in for some refreshment?
And so you're married, Rowan. Yet you lied to me?
Honestly, Nadia, how could you think a handsome young man like me would be happy with a woman who can't have children? You are like a crumbled newspaper, good for nothing but starting fires. Focus on raising the kids. I'm done with you. Don't even think about telling anyone about this, Nadia. We both have secrets we don't want in public. Just forget you ever met me.
with a wave of his hand, Rowan ordered the security guards to remove Nadia and never let her back in. Nadia stumbled home, heartbroken and filled with shame. In a desperate act, she took poison to end her life. She woke. She found herself in a dark and gloomy place that strangely resembled her home. She sat up, taking in her surroundings, and noticed the clock frozen on the wall. The hand struck in the same position since her arrival. A mysterious man walked in and sat silently beside her. Confused and scared, Nadia asked,
Who are you and why are you here in what seems like my house?
We are trapped here, in a place between worlds, and soon the bell will toll.
What bell? I don't have a bell in my house.
Suddenly, the bell rang. Screams pierced the air all around her. Disoriented, Nadia tried to understand what was happening. A wave of realization washed over her. She was back at Rowan's house, reliving the final hours before her death. Pain surged through her body as the poison took effect. Then silence. The strange man's eyes fixed on her.
That bell.
Tony's dream persisted. His inability to traverse the shimmering ocean made reality almost unbearable. After his sixth birthday and his sixth failure, disaster struck. Mr. Okoro, his only saving grace, was involved in an accident on his way back from work. After spending 3 months at the hospital, the doctors ruled out his ability to ever work again and was confined to a wheelchair. Unable to cater for his family as he used to, Miss Okoro became the breadwinner. One day after Tony was done with his daily chores of cleaning and washing, Miss Okoro called him and said,
From today, after your morning walk, no more school for you. You will have to hawk this bucket of fried meat at the marketplace for 100 naira each. I have counted the pieces. There are 1,053 pieces of meat inside this bucket. Make sure you sell them completely before coming to this house. And not even 5 naira should be missing from my money. Or else. Anyway, you know what I am capable of.
Whenever Tony couldn't sell everything by the end of the day, Miss Okoro wouldn't give him any food. Sometimes she would even hit him and call him names. Mr. Okoro tried to reason with his wife, but she wouldn't listen.
What do you want me to do? You are crippled and cannot work. Is it my money I will use to feed the whole bastard when I have mine to cater for? If he does not work and bring back money to this house, he will sleep without food. And if you disrespect me again because of that bastard, you will go to the market, buy your own food and cook it yourself. Rubbish.
Miss Okoro would abuse Tony in some new way. He felt drained and hungry, sitting under a tree with only half a bucket of fried meat left to sell before sunset. Despite his hardship, Tony couldn't help but feel empathy for a beggar who approached him. He generously offered the beggar some meat. The beggar thanked Tony and left. Even though Tony worried about Miss Okoro's anger and punishment, a sense of peace filled him when he remembered his kind act. That night, he found himself back at the shimmering water. Miraculously, he floated. The voice echoed with a thunderous sound.
Well done, Tony. Your good outweighs your bad. You have repaid your debt.
When he woke up, he started his day as usual. On reaching the market, he spotted a group of actors filming on a movie set. Curious, he got a little closer. Suddenly, the director noticed him and called out.
Hey, you dear. Sell me some of that meat.
Excited, Tony approached the director. As the director munched the juicy beef, a crew member rushed to him and said,
Excuse me, sir. There has been a problem. The actor who plays Mark isn't here. His mother called and said he's sick and in the hospital. They don't know when he'll be back.
The director looked at Tony for a moment and then asked,
Can you act? Can you pretend to be a slave boy sold to a cruel ant?
Tony flawlessly embodied the character, leaving everyone on set impressed. The director, clearly pleased, declared,
You were born for this. My assistant will take you home to get your parents' signature on the contract.
Miss Okoro surprised when she saw Tony step out of the car. Escorted by a well-dressed man and woman, without asking questions, she screamed.
Whatever he must have done, please take him with you and do what you like with him. He has been nothing but bad luck and bad news since he came to this house.
The assistant, looking confused, urgently requested to speak with Tony's guardian. A bit surprised, Miss Okoro explained.
There is no guardian here, but my husband might be able to help. He is inside.
The strangers then spoke to Mr. Okoro, explaining they were from a movie academy. They wanted Tony to join their nursing.
That sounds interesting. But, your nursing is far from here. How can you cope with your ever-changing locations?
We have a boarding school for talented young actors like your son. He will join the academic for easy transport and to help him grow on this path. He can come home for visits at the end of each school term. Of course, if that's all right with you.
Mr. Okoro reviewed the contract they offered and ultimately signed the document. He spoke sternly.
I am placing him in your care. Please don't break the contract. Give him his full payment after 10 years of service.
We take pride in being an academy with integrity and a clear reputation. He will receive everything he deserves.
Disappointed by Tony's sudden departure, Miss Okoro asked if he could stay home until his training sections resumed.
No, madam. It's best for him to come with us now. We have a filming section tonight and it won't be convenient to pick him up later.
Tony's life took an unexpected turn forever as he grew into a movie star. On his 17th birthday, a strong desire to find his mother, who had left him after her aunt's death, led him down a difficult path. It turned out that his mother, Candy, was jailed for smuggling drugs at the airport. When she saw Tony now growing and seemingly doing okay, she cried uncontrollably.
Oh, my big kid, I don't miss you. Anytime I call your auntie, that's also cause she dey curse me. I don't know wetin I do. I regret why I put you for their hand.
Don't worry, Mom. I just spoke with my lawyers. They told me they'll be coming to see you tomorrow to discuss your case. We might be able to file an appeal which could get you released. You're my only family, and I can't just stand by and watch you suffer.
Senator Chima had a heart attack and died when he lost his senatorial position. He found himself in a void, glowing brightly in yellows. A shiver ran down his spine as a voice spoke.
Welcome, Senator Chima, the power-hungry politician with a cold heart.
Who are you? And where am I?
You are dead and in hell.
Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through Senator Chima's chest. It felt like an invisible force was trying to rip his heart out. The strangest thing was, he couldn't see anyone attacking him. He screamed in agony as his ribs seemed to crack open, making way for his heart to be torn free. The pain was unbearable. He begged for someone, anyone, to make it stop. A hollow laugh echoed through the emptiness, followed by a voice.
This pain won't stop until your heart loses its coldness. The only way to do that is to help someone in genuine need without expecting anything in return.
Confused and hurting, Senator Chima cried out.
But how can I help anyone? I'm all alone in this place.
That is your retribution.